Hello, my name is Sean Sperry. I am with the IBM Software Group. And in this video we're going to talk about FlashCopy Manager for Unix 4.1, and we're going to talk about database cloning. So let's just get started by talking about what cloning is. In typical production environments, there is a need to take data from database-based applications like Oracle, DB2, and SAP and move it from a production system to systems that are used for other various functions in the environment, like for instance testing, quality assurance, development. And what cloning of a database is, or is used for, is it allows you to take production data and to move it to those test, quality assurance, development environments and produce an exact copy of the data so that the people who are working in those environments can do their jobs on data that is either exactly similar to the production data or very close to the production data. Typically this cloning process is run maybe once a day, once a week, on some fixed period, so that the actual real production data can be updated on a periodic basis. Now, there are a couple ways to produce a clone. One of them is to just copy the production database over to the clone copies, and another is to do a backup and then to do a restore on the clone copies. But the problem with those methodologies in some cases is they can be relatively slow, and especially if you get large, very large databases, which is typically the case in a lot of production environments these days. So what FlashCopy Manager for Unix allows you to do is to produce the clone using hardware-based snapshots. That is to say, the data from Oracle, DB2, or SAP is on a supported storage subsystem that is able to produce snapshots. And when FlashCopy Manager for Unix initiates the cloning process, it is able to use that hardware snapshotting technology to produce a consistent clone copy, or even multiple consistent clone copies, very quickly and efficiently. In many cases, we're talking seconds or minutes as opposed to hours to produce the clone. So that allows it to produce the clone more often, to do it more efficiently with less resources. As mentioned, FlashCopy Manager for Unix supports Oracle, DB2, and SAP. And it also supports a wide variety of storage subsystems on the back end that allow you to do hardware snapshots. Here you see the IBM storage subsystems, SVC, Storewise, XIV, D8, NetApp N series. And we recently announced the Rocket Device Adapter Pack for FlashCopy Manager, which will support EMC devices and soon will allow you to support Hitachi devices. So that's the overview of cloning. I'd like to take a quick look at the process of cloning and what goes on in the background when FlashCopy Manager produces a clone before we do a demonstration. Just going through this list 1 through 7, we allow you the ability to run pre-processing scripts on the system, because typically some small amount of work might need to be done on the production system to make it ready to clone. We then go through and unmount the previously existing clone copy on the clone system if you already have one. And then we go to your production system in step 3 and take a snapshot of the production system. including suspension and resumption of the source database so that you get a consistent copy. Then we take that snapshot, we mount it on the clone system, and we recover it using whatever recovery technology the database or application is going to give us in order to get a consistent copy. So those are going to be different depending on whether it's DB2, SAP, or Oracle. And then finally, down in step 5, we're going to rename the clone to the target name, start the clone database, and then if you have some post-processing that you want to do on the clone system, like maybe create some additional test data or QA data, using the script will allow you to do that. We're going to do a short demonstration of cloning, and for our demonstration we're going to use DB2 10.5 Fixed Pack 3, so that's the latest version of DB2 as of this recording, but we do support other versions of DB2. We're going to use FlashCopy Manager 4.1 on Unix. We'll use Red Hat 6.5, but we support other variations of Linux as well as other Unix operating systems like AIX. And our backend database is going to be a NetApp device, although as mentioned previously we support other storage devices. Just some quick information about our configuration. We've already configured DB2 to use Tivoli Storage Manager to do offload backups and archive logs. Our database is mounted using iSCSI as a block device, so it's going to be available to both the primary and the clone systems using the iSCSI protocol, although you could do this with a SAN base infrastructure as well. And we have a couple instances of DB2 available. On our primary machine, our instance is DB2 inst1. On our offload or clone system, we have DB2 inst1 available to recover the database, and we're going to actually be mounting our clone database in the DB2 inst2 instance. Finally, down there at the bottom, you see the FlashCopy commands that are used to create these clones. Create clone creates a new one. Refresh clone takes the existing database and refreshes one that already exists. Delete clone does exactly what it sounds like, gets rid of a clone. And inquire detail clone gives you information about the currently snapshotted clone or multiple clones that are out there. So that being said, let's take a look at a demonstration of this working with DB2 Linux and a NetApp device. Okay, so for this little short demonstration, I'm going to show you an example of cloning using DB2 10.5 Fixed Pack 3. And just for the purposes of doing this demonstration, I'm going to use IBM Data Studio just because it allows us to do things a little more graphically. I'm going to run the clone using the command line for FlashCopy Manager. Just to show you where we're starting out here, I have two systems. I have a local host system, or the machine that I'm running Data Studio on. In this case, it's CSI DB2 Pry, and I also have a clone system, CSI DB2 Off, and as you can see, I have two copies of a database that I'm connected to here. One is the sample database from DB2, and the other is a clone copy of that sample database. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, as you can see, I'm already connected to the sample database, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up a table in my sample database, and I'll go ahead and just edit some data just so we can clone over a particular, we're going to be cloning over the whole database, but I'll just make a change to a record so that you can see it move from one system to another. what I did was I went to one of the tables in this sample database. It happens to be the employee table. And I'll make a change to a record. I'll change the spelling of a name. And I'll change Christine Haas with an H to Christine with an R. So I'll go ahead and make that change. I'll go ahead and commit the changes to the database. And that happened. And just to show you what that looks like in my clone database, if I go over here to sample clone and go to employees and do a data edit data, you'll see that it's still Christine with an H. Now if I go to my command line here, I can run the inquire detail clone and see information about the clone, that the snapshot that is made and mounted on that remote system. Over there you can see that it is mounted and remotely mountable. And what I'm going to do is, in order to produce my clone, my new clone, I am going to refresh that snapshot. So I'm going to take a new snapshot, move it over to the remote system, and mount it up over there. In order to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this clone database and I will disconnect from it, and I will also stop the clone instance, this db2 inst2, and we'll go ahead and run that in the background. And db2, that happens to be the db2 stop command, so db2 stop force, so it's disconnecting all the users. I'll go ahead and run that in the background, and that went ahead and succeeded. So now that instance over on the other side, the clone instance, is stopped. Notice that I'm going to leave my primary instance, or what would be representing my production instance, as up and running. So no reason to stop that. I'm going to produce a snapshot on the production side. It's going to quiesce the database, make the snapshot copy or backup, and then recover that on the clone side. So now I'm ready to refresh my clone. I typed in the command a little previously here, and that's the command. It's FlashCopy Manager CLI refresh clone, and you give it the database that you want to refresh and the instance that you want to refresh it on, and then I'll go ahead and run that. Now what's happening here is FlashCopy Manager is going out, checking to make sure that the cloned instance is stopped. As you can see here, it's unmounting the current cloned copy, removing those snapshot volume groups, talking to our NetApp storage device, and instructing it to make another snapshot copy of the database. When that happens, FlashCopy Manager is going to go over to our clone system, in this case CSI DB2 off, mount the database over there, recover it into DB2 inst1, and then rename it into DB2 inst2, which is where I'm going to be running my clone. As I mentioned in the lecture part of this, of course, you could do this as many times as you want to as many different systems as you want. And really the beauty of this is the speed in which hardware snapshots can be taken. In my case, this is a very small database, and I'm running everything via iSCSI on a relatively slow network, so it's going to take a little while to do it, or maybe a minute or two. But with hardware-based snapshots, this could be a very large database, and the snapshot would occur very quickly, and the mounting would occur very quickly because it's all hardware-based. So now you see us recovering the database sample on the clone side, on the CSI DB2 off DB2 inst system, and it's doing that in order to make sure it gets a consistent copy of it, and then it's going to start the database instance, rename the file systems. Things are scrolling by a little fast here, but basically it's just scripted in the background, and so it's just mounting it up, renaming it in the DB2 inst2 instance, and making it available and starting the instance essentially so that it's available on the clone system. So now I can go out here, I can connect to my clone database that I just stopped, and remember FlashCopy Manager started the instance for me. And once I do that, you'll see that if I go to the clone side, which is SAMP clone, and go to the tables, I can browse the data, and if I browse the employee table, I'll do a data, edit data, and you'll see here that now I have my cloned record on the clone side. Now I did this all interactively with fancy administrative tools. In a real production environment, this would be all scripted and set up to happen on a regular basis in the background. If it were me, I would even run this using some sort of enterprise scheduler such as Tivoli Workload Scheduler, so that you'd ensure that all these cloned copies would be produced correctly and that there were no issues. So that's the demonstration of cloning. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to seeing you in when I do another video. Thank you for your attention.